Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody is doing quite well. Welcome to the POMcast on this February 12th, Friday edition. Thank God it's Friday. Right here, I'm Stephen Willis, your host for the next half hour or so of Ole Miss goodness. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. You can follow us on YouTube at positivelyolemiss. Hit the bell for updates. You'll always know when we're streaming and you'll be notified just like you would have just now. So if you're follow us on Twitch at positivelyolemiss, all one word. You can catch us on audio-based platforms at Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora. We're on smaller podcatchers as well, but you would really have to wait a little while for us to get through them all. So we've been a little bit spotty uploading to Spotify. We've been mainly doing our video sources, Twitch, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. That's been the primary locations where you can catch the podcast. We're going to get back on the audio side of the house eventually. But right now, because, I'm moonlighting between two jobs, that kind of falls between the cracks and requires a little bit of extra work. So, you have to prioritize some things, and, that one is slipping through the cracks. As we have time, though, we can upload it. Again, my name is Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining us. Chris Thrasher is normally slated to be here today. Will not be here because power went out. I'm assuming ice storm up around Sardis where he is. He is relocating to closer to Oxford, and he is going to do press conferences, cover spring, and all that stuff. He's going to handle for us. So you can look forward to that. He's very excited for it. He's very, very gung ho. So we're just going to let him go, and he'll get direction from me, but it's mainly, he took ownership of it. Cover it the way he sees fit, basically. But I will give him tips if he asks for them. And next week, I think next Tuesday will be our first hit with Darby McCraney to talk recruiting. He's got a big segment coming up with defensive linemen. I think that's who he's going to start with. Defensive linemen is who he's going to start with. So tune in Tuesday to catch that. It should be pretty great, and we're going to work up graphics to kind of fit with what he's talking about and things like that. So as you can see, our graphics below. Well, it's not on now, but if you can see, we're big on the graphics. We're big on the graphics. So, welcome to the show. Ole Miss men's basketball and women's basketball undefeated for the month of February. That's kind of cool. That includes ranked victories over Tennessee, Missouri, and Kentucky for women's basketball. So 3 top 15 wins interspersed through that. Ole Miss versus South Carolina tomorrow night, Saturday, at 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, I think. We have a graphic coming up with the time of the game and things to look forward to. So, keep an eye out for that. It'll pop up and just, woo, just what it does. But it'll talk about the next step for the game, and you can kind of settle in, go in. Now, what I'm concerned about the South Carolina game is I'm concerned about playing to the level of the competition. That's the next step for a championship level program and all the stuff that Kermit Davis is building. First, you have to learn how to win a game. And then you got to learn how to take care of people you're supposed to take care of, and not let the level of the competition determine your performance level. So that's what I'm worried about. South Carolina, I think, is 3-6 in the conference at the moment. They are not very highly, I don't want to say regarded, but they're struggling. They got bit with COVID. They're the one team in the league that took it a little bit harder than we did. And they've never really been able to get in sync. And that hurts them greatly. I think they lost to Mississippi State the other day. And let's look at theirs real quick. I know this is probably bad video. But it will allow us to kind of know what we're going into. They got beat by Vanderbilt by 12. That tells you a little bit right there. But let's see, schedule. They took a 16-point loss in their opener to Liberty. They beat Tulsa by 10. 10-point loss to Houston. That's nothing to really shake a stick at there. Then canceled the next 5 games or postponed. And that included Clemson and Kentucky. They beat Florida A&M and then just kicked the shit out of Texas A&M. Beat them by 24. 2 games postponed. This is the Ole Miss game is a remake as well. Tennessee game was postponed. They lost by 5 to LSU. They lost by 11 to Missouri. They lost by 23 to Auburn. They beat Georgia by 24. They lost to Vandy by 12. They beat Florida by 6 at Florida. And then they lost home games by 16 to Mississippi State and lost by 3 to Alabama. So basically, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. I mean, that's what we're looking at. You don't really want to play to the level of the competition. And this is a team that can obviously, with victories over Georgia and Florida, and the close call that they just did with Alabama Tuesday night, this is a team that can jump up and bite you if you're not careful. And, we have basically at Ole Miss, we have Jarkel Joyner, Devontae Shuler, and Romello White, and the 3 main weapons. If one goes down, there's 2 others there to take up the slack. Against Missouri, Romello White got in foul trouble, but you had like Sammy Hunter and KJ Buffett step into that void from Romello White and actually perform quite well. I think, I can't necessarily, like Tillman from Missouri, the big guy. They're saying he's probably the best center in the conference. Well, he never got going, even with Romello White in foul trouble. Sammy Hunter, KJ Buffin, they all did a pretty good job on him. And doing that was able to stifle Missouri's half-court offense. They eliminated the break. They eliminated him. So they basically eliminated all levels of the offense after about the first, 10 to 15 minutes of the game. And, they had 37 points with like 5 minutes to go in the first half. And then they finished with 59. They scored 22 the rest of the way. So with the defense, this is going to come down to the same old thing. Now, this is a team that can score a little bit, it looks like. They've gone over 80 quite a bit. So this is a game where you can tell the outcome of this game based off of South Carolina's scoreline. South Carolina scores greater than 65 points, they've got a much greater chance to win the game. Less than 65, Ole Miss has a great chance of winning the game. Now, Colonial Life Center and South Carolina, that's been a house of horrors for Ole Miss. Don't have to tell you anything about that. You obviously understand that. But going into that environment and making plays, this is a test. This is a test. Go in, win the game, whether by 1 or by 50, it doesn't matter. Just win the game. And the narrative continues to build. It's already about momentum. With Tennessee, with Auburn, with Missouri. If you can beat South Carolina, it continues to build. There's another winnable non-conference game coming up on Wednesday, I believe. Win that one as well. It continues to build. Then Missouri on the road, a shot at a Tier 1 victory on the road. You have a chance to basically clinch the NCAA tournament right then. And then you close out, I think, with Vanderbilt and Kentucky or something like that. And if you do that, you have a chance to move forward. Now, there's a chance that Ole Miss is playing in March. I mean, that conversation is relevant. That conversation should be happening, and it deserves to be happening. But it doesn't happen unless Ole Miss takes care of business against South Carolina, takes care of business against Vanderbilt, takes care of business against Mississippi State, takes care of business against Kentucky. Without those 4, all this is mute. Those are the seminal important games. That Missouri game is great. It's a free shot. But Ole Miss has proven over the last week that it can go out in a game that's considered a free shot and go out and play pretty well. They need to take all this confidence and move it forward at the Colonial Life Center and just keep it rolling. Take that confidence to the next level. There's a chance Ole Miss is going to get popped in the next 4. I mean, confidence, once you hit that peak, it always somebody comes and knocks you down. Well, if that happens, that makes that Missouri game even more important. But there's margin for error. That's the beauty of this. As it stands now, Ole Miss completely controls their own destiny. If they were to win out, they're looking at 16-8 or so going into the SEC tournament. That's automatically in. You're in. That's winning 2 out of every 3 games. You're in. That's the equivalent of going 20-10. 24-12. You're in. And those are without the non-conference games that normally pad that win total. So a 16-8 under this COVID environment is much more impressive than just a random 16-8. So it's a pretty big game. It is a pretty big game. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Lady Rebs and their victory over Alabama. Going to kind of talk about the momentum that's sweeping across the basketball program, carried over from the football program, and we still have baseball starting in a week. So stick around for that. But let us take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Lady Rebs. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day
in front of a screen. As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Of course, we're talking about Ole Miss sports and all the things that we are kind of interested in fandom, including, I don't know why that's not coming up. Let's see, just 1 second. Let's see, there we go, maybe. All right, just 1 second. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like it wants to cut up at the moment, so we'll see. If it comes up, it comes up. If not, we will proceed as normal. But Ole Miss was a 67-62 victor over, the score's up. 67-62 victor over Alabama. And see. Yeah, have a player of the game graphic didn't come up, so whatever. 67-62. Coach Yo wins again in the month of February. He's got the girls that's insanely young in college basketball playing really quite well. So that's kind of impressive. And part of that is like Shakira Austin with 25 points. She played really quite well. And Madison Scott went 11 and 10. But that's 2 double-doubles in one game. Ole Miss was up at halftime by about 11 points, stretched that out to 10 in the third quarter. Alabama kind of clawed back and made it a little bit too close for comfort. But in the fourth quarter, they were able to pull away and win the game 67-62. So it just bodes well for Coach Yo's girls. They have a chance. They're building momentum. I'm not saying anything is going to come this season from this, but this is going to be benefiting these girls next year. It's going to be about next year. And building up and getting better and better. It's going to go into recruiting. They're going to get a little better. And they're going to be hell to deal with in 2022. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, what about this year? Well, there's a hole in a process that has to be gone through in order to win. You can't skip steps. There's no easy button. There's no quick fix. Whenever this program was inherited by Coach Yo, it was completely cratered. And a little bit of that is on Matt Ensel, but I can't remember the name. The guys from Fresno that actually cratered the program. The only thing that Matt couldn't do was get him out of it to turn it around because it was through transfers and everything else. It was fairly close to a death penalty-like situation. So when Coach Yo took over after the transfers and everything happened, it was completely cratered. And she has brought it back step by step by step by step. And now you have a team that has won back-to-back SEC games for the second time in Coach Yo's career. And they're doing it with one of the youngest teams in the NCAA. It's incredibly impressive. It's really next level. And congratulations definitely to Coach Yo for doing that. They have Mississippi State coming up on Valentine's Day. So Sunday, I think that's a pink out. The game's at 3 p.m. on the SEC network if you want to watch it. Yeah, the South Carolina game Saturday just popped up on the screen there, the directions for the watching that. But it is going to be interesting, that Ole Miss versus Mississippi State game, because State has dropped down. They're not what they were. They lost their special player. But Ole Miss has really grown by leaps and bounds over the last couple of weeks, where extremely talented players are starting to get confident. And when that happens, anything can happen. And with women's basketball, there's no lead safe. It's kind of interesting to see. There's a little bit of below the rim action going on. So it's kind of fun to watch. So it's like watching the era of basketball that Jarkel Joyner went back to the future on. So a lot of mid-range games. So it's going to be really interesting to see. So pay attention to that Mississippi State game. Pay attention to that South Carolina game. If Ole Miss comes out of the weekend undefeated, we're looking at a very special end of February, beginning of March. And in the future, and we're not quite there yet, but we're playing around with our system. We're going to do virtual watch parties for games and figure out a way for you to communicate and have your comments go out to everybody on the screen, so you can watch that and see what's going on. So we can be a perfect TV2 avenue while you're watching the game. Obviously, we can't show the game on the screen, but we can be a TV2 avenue for you, a second screen possibility for you. And Chris Thrasher has been really harping on making that happen, the virtual watch parties. He wants those. So we're looking for multiple people to come on to fill personalities and fill up airtime and, kind of lead the conversation on the screen and not necessarily the conversation through the text messages. So once we get all that done, we'll be able to do the virtual watch parties as well. We're also looking at doing basically a boot camp the offense. If you go back on YouTube, me and Corey Burton, the offensive coordinator at Hillwood High School in Nashville area, did a video, broke down the offense from Lane Kiffin at FAU, what to expect at Ole Miss. 97% of it we hit dead on. So we're looking at doing that. It might not necessarily be Ole Miss, but just pick a school that's doing the offense and just kind of break down what they're doing, what they're really good at, and we're going to do it on this platform here. Recruiting show with Darby McCraney, or recruiting on the POMcast, Darby McCraney, starting next week. I think his first segment will air on the show on Tuesday, and that'll be available for you as well. We're looking at doing a Mississippi high school scoreboard show. We need people to be regional people for Mississippi, and we're going to try and get video for that to kind of push that together, and we just have some fun with it. And that with the recruiting show, we're obviously going to that would be something Darby would be a part of, as the recruitings are. And once we get into football season, every day I'm having thoughts of what we can do. I'm already thinking about the football season, because once we do that, we're kind of there. And I'm looking at special guests that we can bring on to do the pregame show, to talk about Ole Miss football. We can break down a little bit of what's going on, a little bit of X's and O's, a little bit of personality. Do like a typical pregame show. Post-game reaction show, that goes without saying, and then we'd have the virtual watch party. So it could be a long day, but I mean, with this going on, it seems like we'd be able to pull it off and pull it off quite well. So I'm just really excited. It's going to be a little bit rough at the beginning, as you can see, but once this thing goes, it's going to be ready to explode. It's just going to be ready to explode. I think I am going to give you a little bit of time back. I hope I covered everything. If not, just leave a comment below, and I'll hit on it on Monday. But everybody have a good weekend. Watch the Ole Miss games. We're going to continue to build. We're going to continue to work. We're going to continue to get this just right. And we'll be able to provide like an avenue. We're going to get in the next 2 weeks. We're going to send the email to Ole Miss to get on all the media lists and into the press conferences for the Zoom meetings and the FTP and all that stuff. So stick around for that for sure. And I mean, this should be a lot of fun. And the reason we're going to hit the media list for the FTP is they put out video for spring football. So there's going to be a little bit in the next coming weeks of football-centric programming to the POMcast. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It really is. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes back. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the games this weekend. Hit us up on Monday, 11 Eastern, 10 Central. POMcast, Stephen Willis, and